The Further Adventures of Little Red Riding Hood. I'm going to tell you a story about a brave, kind, strong-willed girl called Red Riding Hood and what happened to her after the terrible events that involved a very bad wolf. It's a tale that's seldom told, involving secrets that very few would believe. Let me start before the beginning and remind you about the girl we are talking of. Many years ago, there was a little girl called Red Riding Hood. That, of course, was not her birth name. It was Blanchette. She wore a beautiful red hooded cloak given to her by her late grandmother, which kept her warm and cosy on her journeys throughout the forest. She lived with her mother, a baker, and her father, a woodcutter. She was known around the villages as the girl who tricked the wolf and the girl who spoke to animals. For this, rather than being celebrated, Red Riding Hood was avoided by most people for being different. However, Red Riding Hood had many friends she could talk to and understand all the animals in the forest. The crows were wonderful and told her directions, so she never got lost. The rabbits could recommend the best plants to eat, and the deer would tell her wonderful stories of the fairy folk. There was one friend that was closest to her, and that was the fox she'd named Amica. She was the only one she knew with a gift to talking to animals, so one day decided to find out why this might be. She first asked her fox friend, Amica, do you know why I can talk to you? I'm so pleased I can, as you are always such a good listener. The little fox looked up at her and said, I'm so pleased you can too. Why don't you ask the deer? They have the closest connection to magic as they know the fairies. They would be eating flowers at this time of day. With the wise advice of Amica, she decided to find the deer. They ran to the flower glade where she knew the herd loved to eat and called them over. My dear gentle friends, could you help me? I wish to know why I am the only one who can hear you talk. Do you know the answers I seek? In response, the deer slowly formed a circle around Red Riding Hood. The fairies can also hear us talk too. We will call upon the fairy queen and see if she can answer your questions. And with that, the deer all started singing and dancing around the little girl. The beautiful soulful music brought a tear to Red Riding Hood's eyes. Such was the delight it brought. The wind gently rustled the leaves, and slowly a beautiful fairy dressed in autumn gold with shimmering wings appeared before her eyes. The queen smiled gently at Red Riding Hood and spoke in a whisper. You come seeking answers, my child. You wish to know why you are different and why you hear nature as pure as it should be. 400 seasons passed, and your great-grandmother fell in love with one of us. His name was Folium, my brother. They had 2 daughters, one of whom was your grandmother. As a gift from us, we granted them the power that you now have to talk to and understand animals. This gift is unlocked upon wearing the magical cloak that you wear now, the cloak that your grandmother gave you on your 6th birthday. This power now runs through the bloodline of your family. Red Riding Hood, feeling completely amazed, gasped, so my mother would not have had this gift since she never wore this cloak. She has the power, but it was never released. Perhaps your grandmother thought she did not need it, or she still wished to use the gift herself, the queen replied. With sudden realization, Red Riding Hood exclaimed, so my great-grandfather was a fairy king, which would make me a princess. The fairy queen just smiled her gentle smile, and ever so slowly faded from view, leaving Red Riding Hood standing amongst the deer and flowers. Thanking the deer for their help, Red Riding Hood skipped along with her little fox friend down the forest path. Oh, Amica, what joy! I've just realized I can't be the only one in the village who can talk to animals. Follow me." With that, they headed eastwards over the stone bridge, through Father Jethro's cornfields, and towards a small woodland on top of the hill. There, amongst the trees, was a moss-covered thatched cottage with beautiful roses growing in the garden. Walking up the pathway, the front door opened, and an old woman with twinkling blue eyes, dressed in a red cloak, stood smiling at the young girl. "How lovely to see you, Blanchette," the old woman said with a giggle, using Red Riding Hood's true name. "Come in and warm yourself by the fire. It's too long since I saw my grandniece." The little girl hugged her grand-aunt and ventured inside. The cottage was warm and cosy. An old fox was curled up by the fire, which beckoned Amaka to join it. They all sat down by the fire and talked. "I'm so pleased you came to see me, Blanchette. Your grandmother, my sister, cared so much for you. She saw how special you were and gave you her gift to use for good. I still have my gift and cloak, and when it's time to pass mine on to another, you'll have another to share your magic. You see, no matter how alone or unique you may feel, there will always be someone in the world who feels the same way. Sometimes you will find them, sometimes they will find you, and sometimes all you need to do is ask for help if you ever feel alone. Perhaps the answer was always right in front of you." From that day onwards, Red Riding Hood never felt alone or worried about being different. And she always felt better after talking to her animal friends or grand-aunt. She also told her mother the tale, who revealed that she borrowed the cloak when she was Red Riding Hood's age, so there's one more that understood her feelings. All this happened a long time ago, and there are now thousands of girls and boys around the world who are all related to Red Riding Hood. Perhaps you are one of those with the gift and the power of royal fairy magic.